Hi everyone, today I'm going to be doing a scrapbook layout with this collection, which is called Simple Vintage Weathered Garden. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Simple Vintage Weathered Garden by Simple Stories. This is a sticker sheet and I really rather like this collection. I have used it already, but I haven't used a lot of it, and I liked it so much that I bought the whole kit, which I don't very often do, and I even bought the coordinating cards and papers as well. The photo I've chosen to use is my son on a skiing holiday. Back in February they went to Andorra in half term, and it was lovely and sunny where they were away from the mountains, and they were about 45-minute drive to the mountains, so that's why it's all brilliant sunshine there. And so this is the photo I'm going to use, and this is the collection I'm going to use. I've chosen to use a layout that I've seen on Pinterest. I hope you can see that, which is mainly made up of squares, but on this one they've used a 12 by 12 sheet. Now I've decided, because my son's moaned a bit about the amount of size that a 12 by 12 scrapbook album takes up, anything to do with my son's now is going to be on an A4 piece of paper. So I'm going to reduce this one down and make it a A4 size scrapbook layout instead. So I'm going to use a white background. So I've got a piece of hammered cardstock here, which I'm going to use, and I've got to cut some pieces of paper down into 2-inch squares, because that will work on this background, on this size background. As I say, I've already cut into some of this paper. So I think what I'm looking to do is use up some of the pieces of paper that I've already cut. Like that one's a perfect one because I've already cut up that, and I could use that check piece as well. I'll probably hang on to that journaling piece there, but there's another bit there, some florals, a bit of plaid. I won't use too many florals because it's a masculine layout. I haven't cut into that piece of paper, but it's a nice piece of paper. So I think that gives me a good basis, and I'm going to need, I think, 10 or 12 squares of 2-inch squares. So I think that gives me my start. Thankful for every little thing. Well, I can definitely make a 2-inch square out of that, and I can't imagine that I'm going to use that expression, so I'll cut 2 inches out of that. I might use that Butterfly Beautiful one at some point. So let's make a start, shall we? So 2-inch squares, and then I'm going to put them down in 3 rows, 2, 4, 6, and this is 8.5 inches wide. So let's cut this at 2 inches. My trusty little guillotine. And that fits 2 inches as well, so I could end up with 2 out of that, and I'll keep that strip. I'm bound to use that at some point in the future, she says optimistically. Now obviously my guillotine isn't going to cut, my little guillotine isn't going to cut my big piece of paper, so I'll now use my guillotine, which is off camera. And I will cut a 2-inch strip, and then I will make 2-inch squares out of it, because I have, I'll cut the title strip off, I don't need that, because the 2-inch strips I can use double-sided, I can use the reverse as well. I must try and do this slower. This is a very geriatric guillotine I have here, and if I do it too quick like I usually do, I end up with a ragged edge. So I'm just going to trim that tiniest little bit off that one so that it's not ragged. Nobody will notice the little raggedy bit, but I must try and remember to use my guillotine slowly, because then I get a good clean cut, whereas if I do it too quick I get that ragged edge. I am actually going to distress the edges of these squares, and that's another 2-inch square, so I've got a few there already. This is a 2-inch. This is did it too fast again? Do you see that? See, I can't remember even when I'm talking about it. I can't remember to do it right. Let's trim that piece off and trim that piece off. So I ended up with a different. Well, I'm going to throw that little bit away. And again, 2 inches, and trim this off because I didn't cut it cleanly the last time, and that's a 2-inch one. I don't know yet whether I'm going to use the gingham side or the butterfly side. I've already got a butterfly there in that yellowy green, so I think I might use the gingham side. All right, so 2 inches again, and that one's got a bit of the gingham and the butterfly, so I'm going to have, oh no, that's the strip look. I might get away with that, I don't know. We'll see. Open my window because it's rather hot in here. Oh, that's better. Immediately felt relief. There's another 2-inch strip that I can use. So what I'll do now is I'll trim off the name strip at the end. And then again, do it slowly, Elaine. Try and remember to do that. Okay, slowly does it. And then I get a nice neat edge. There's 2 inches, and that's a bit under 2 inches, so I won't be able to use that one. I'll keep that to one side. I don't think I need any more than that, but more than enough here. I don't know, I'm getting carried away cutting these. So, start laying these out in rows of 3. That's actually quite a nice one, and it works quite well on there, so I don't know about that one. I'll see. Right, 1, 2, 3. Then I want 1, 2, 3. 1. That one should be done. That's very similar, that cut. Let's see if that one's different. Yeah, that's different. So I'll use that one up that way. And then I'll use that one as the reverse side because that was almost identical, and I don't want them identical. That one there. Oh, look, I didn't get carried away. So that's another very similar one. Put that one there. Put that one over there. And that one there. So I still need 3 more. So I'm going to cut another 2-inch strip and 2 inches again there. I'll probably switch that one out for that one and put that one down there. So I don't want too many the same too close to one another. And then that one can go there. And then I think I can get away with that one down there. I'll probably actually switch that one and that one over. And that one and that one over. No, that puts 2 side by side. So that one's got to be switched with the gingham one. And that's a pattern that works. That's great. So I'll leave that to one side, move all those bits over there. And now I want to distress all these. Now to distress it, I don't know how other people do it, but I use a pair of scissors and I scratch like this down the side. It does make a little bit of fluff, so if you're particularly, you know, prone to asthma or anything like that, then make sure you do it in an open environment with an open window. As you know, I've got mine open. Or, you know, get somebody else to do it for you, or wear a mask if you're really worried about it, because it does definitely kick off fibres. So it's a good little practice to get into, is to make sure you don't actually breathe it in if you have breathing difficulties. I should have thought this through before probably, and done all this before I started recording, but sometimes it helps to see little techniques if you want. of how people do it. I remember not knowing how to do this when I first started scrapbooking, which was a long time ago now, 10, 12 years ago, something like that. I think it was about 12 years ago now, a long while. It was 2010, I remember now. I've engaged brain. And I didn't know, and I googled it, or you know, YouTubed it. I YouTube everything if I don't know how to do something. I've just ordered a new phone actually, and I was watching the reviews on YouTube because, you know, I don't know. My boys are adults in their late 30s now, so they're not up to speed with all the modern gizmos and trend things anyway, so they're not really a lot of help. So if I need to know something, I'll YouTube it, and I don't think that's a bad thing. If you need to learn something, it's as good a way as any, I suppose, if you haven't got people that you know that will show you how to do these things. Anyone that watched yesterday's video will probably be laughing their socks off because my husband suddenly decided to come and shout up the stairs that he was going to make a sandwich for lunch. So all that was on the video, and I don't really know how to edit the videos yet. So yesterday afternoon, after I'd finished my scrapbook layout and gone down and eaten my sandwich that my husband kindly made for me, I sort of did a bit of Googling again on YouTube about how to edit videos. So I wasn't able to edit all of it, but I did get some of the shouting up the stairs out of the video. So today I've said to my husband, I am recording in my craft room. Please do not shout up the stairs. So hopefully today you won't have any shouting. Although my window's open and he's working out on the patio beneath my window, so you never know, he might shout up the stairs anyway. So yeah, that was a bit of a laugh really, although it was a bit awkward at the time. I was just thinking, after I'd trimmed all these nice neat little squares up and made sure that my guillotine didn't leave raggedy edges, I could have left them anyway because I'd already got a raggedy edge. But anyway, never mind, I've done this now. And I've only got 2 more to do, so hopefully that will be done. Now, when I go to stick these down, I like to use a wet glue when I'm doing a grid layout. If you use a wet glue, you can eyeball how straight things are, so you don't get a lot of wonky ones. Whereas if you use a tape runner to stick them down, you might stick them in the wrong place. Now I need to do a bit of blowing to get rid of all this fluff. So I've got to just lay these out for a moment, and then I can brush all the fluffy bits off my bit of A4 paper. Right, that's that done. And this is what I'm going to show you for this layout. I'm not inking the edges as I normally do. But I'm going to use pin flare glue, my trusty pin flare glue, which I love, as you all know by now probably. A little bit of wet glue on the back, and eyeball it. That's all I'm doing, eyeballing. And 1 and 2, and that pen flare will stay wet for some time, yeah, a couple of hours. So you've got lots of wriggle room, and you can budge them over a little bit, and you can budge them up a little bit, and you can twist them a little bit to make them straight. I'm happy with that. I'm going to budge that over just a little bit more so that the gaps are equidistant in between each other. And then the next little one, that's that one, that's that one, and again wiggle them around if you want to. And because I'm only putting a bit of pin flare in the centre, you don't need to worry about the edges getting, you know, without squidging out the edge. And I'm not using a lot of pin flare, but it's so adhesive, the pin flare, it will never move. It just doesn't move. Once it's dried, it's dried and it's stuck. And that's why it's very good for heavier embellishments as well. If you're sticking on acetate or a bit of metal, like a metal charm or something like that, or a wood veneer, something like that. Oh, I've got two very similar next to each other there, so I'll move that one, which is an advantage, as I say, of having this pin flare. I'll put the check one there, and then I can put this one beneath it. And again, just wiggle them. It doesn't matter that they're sticking up. I'm going to fit a photo over the top of a lot of them in a minute, so you won't see a lot of them anyway. So now, as you can see, I've made a bit of a boo-boo. There's a bigger gap down the bottom than there is at the top, but because I've used wet glue and because I've only stuck glue in the centre, I can shuffle everything down a little bit and leave the gaps a little bit bigger so that I get a similar sized gap at the top to at the bottom. And I'll just move everything down a little bit. And there's no problem with glue sticking out the top, and it all slides nicely. I have pushed them over a little bit too close to the edge here, so again I will be shuffling those over, which is why I like to use wet glue and not, it doesn't have to be pin flare, I'm just a lover of pin flare, but if you're using a wet glue, it means that you can have that bit of wiggle room. It's quite important, wiggle room, I think, because if you're using a that's too close to that butterfly, so I'm going to move. Which one shall I move? Don't want that one's too close to that one. I'm going to use that one. I'm going to move that one. And then I'm going to put my gingham one down in this bottom corner. Bit of a shame because I think that one's going to be covered up actually. It will be covered up. But then I've got that one there anyway, so that's not a problem. And I've put that there because that's the one with a bit of a dodgy gingham and butterfly. Just going to have a little bit of a slurp of my coffee because I'm drying up while I'm talking to you. My mouth is drying. Just while these are still very wet, I can wiggle them around a bit. And again, you can see now that there's a better match top and bottom, and these are now adhered. They're not going anywhere, but if I want to take them off, I've still got that wriggle room. So that's that. Next thing I want to do is get my photograph. Only, where have I put it? Here I've put it. So now I want to mat this photograph, and I'm going to leave it in its entirety because a lot of the focus on this is about the view. And regularly I would trim the photograph down so it wasn't a 4x6, especially on a layout that's not 12 by 12. I might just trim a little bit down because it is a fraction on the large side. So I'm cutting it down to 3.5 inches and cutting a bit off the top and bottom as well, just to make it a little bit smaller, because by the time you've got a mat on there, a frame for your photograph, it's actually taking up too much of the background. So I'm using one of the matching or coordinating sheets of Simple Vintage Weathered Garden, and I'm going to actually use the white side rather than the yellow side because I was going to use the yellow side, but I don't really like the juxtaposition of the blue and the yellowy green, so I'm going to go with the white side. And how I would just go about that is chop off the edge with a little bit of a border, and then I'll trim it up on my phone once it's stuck down. Bring that back in, move that over there for the moment out of view. using my trusty Easy Runner Grand, which I find incredibly easy to use and much nicer than the oh, what was those horrible big things with tapes that you had to run on? I don't know what they're called now, I've forgotten, but I hated it. I bought it and I absolutely hated it. You had to learn how to wind from one spool onto another spool, and it just wasn't for me at all. I never did have a slurp of my coffee, so excuse me. Cheers. So here's the photo I'm going to use. I'm going to put it here. Oh, I've jiggled that one too much. I must have moved that when I was moving it about. So this one's going to go there like this. And I'm going to use my favourite, which is a foam tape for sticking down the photograph. And the reason I like a foam tape is it's a lot easier to use than those individual foam pads, and I like dimension on a photograph. I like the photograph to be the centre of attention, and sometimes the papers are so pretty that becomes the focus of the attention rather than the photograph. So I feel if I add it on a piece of foam tape and raise it off, then I can tuck flowers and die cuts and things around the photograph and underneath the photograph rather than over the top. So that's the basis for my layout. I'm now going to want to cut some embellishments. I don't think I want too many butterflies because of it being a masculine layout, but I do have the sticky sheet here, and I've got these here so I can, that's quite a nice one. Be Happy in the Moment has a butterfly, but it's mostly leafy and there's a little floral bit there. Be Happy in the Moment is very appropriate for him. He's been through a tough time recently. I won't go into all the details. Be Happy in the Moment would be a good one to put in there. Now, because I've raised that on foam pads and I don't want to tuck that underneath the photo, I'm going to have to put foam pads on the back of this, on the back of the bit that doesn't overlap the photographs. So I'm going to cut a very fine bit to go down on the stem of that little cluster, and then stick that bit on there. So I'll take that off, and I'll take that off as well. That's the beauty also of the foam tape. You can cut it to the size you want. Now I do want it to be the sentiment, Be Happy in the Moment, the title, to be straight. So I'll stick that like that, and then that is on the foam pad, and then that stem is also on the foam pad. A Day to Remember, that's probably a good sticker. So, because it was, they had a lovely holiday. They really enjoyed it because they were getting over some sad times. And so they are trying to get over, I say they, although it's my son, it's my granddaughter as well. So, and I'm going to use that little ticket that says lovely, because it says Lovely Day to Remember. And it was a beautiful day by the look of that. Happy Thoughts is another one that I can put down here because they were engaging in some happy thoughts while they were away, which was nice. And then that's that. Another sticker over here. Got quite a few stickers on this sheet. I could easily put this florally bit. I need a bit more sticky foam pad underneath that butterfly because it's going to stick and it'll become flat. So I'm just going to chop a bit off there, take that second piece off, and I'm going to just lift this up enough to stick under the butterfly wings so that it can't collapse and stick to the paper underneath, especially as I want to stick a flower flat underneath it and create a cluster. So that's going to be there. And then there's another little collection here, another little cluster rather, which I shall put in the top corner trying not to be too florally about this, but the collection I've chosen, of course, has got quite a few flowers on it. But I didn't want to do another wintry skiing type one because this has got absolutely no reference to skiing at all in it. So again, I've put the foam pad on the top, and I will use this sticky bit to stick to the photograph. So the foam pad's there, so it keeps it raised up off the pattern paper. Perhaps a little couple of hearts I could put in because I love him to bits. And he's a good chap. He really is. So a couple of hearts. Be happy in the moment. A day to remember. Happy thoughts and lovely. And have I got anything else that needs to go on? Tell you what I have done. I've wiggled that one. I've knocked that while I've been working on it. So again, because it's not set, it's just able to correct that. And I think that's probably about all I need to do. I might just actually put a tag in there. I've got a tag in the top here. So I've got a bit of ribbon, which I don't know how other people do their ribbons, but I've got a little method I use. I just put the loop through the hole, and then I pop my ribbon back through that loop, and Bob's your uncle. So that's actually dark blue. It might look black, but it's actually a dark blue layout. So I'm going to pop that there with the butterflies, and I've got some of these. My addictive nature has bought some of these lovely enamel dots. I'm obsessed with enamel dots. I love them. So don't want to go mad with flowers, so I'm not going to fussy cut anymore and do lots of cutting and butterflies and all sorts of things. But I've got these pretty coordinating enamel dots, which I'm now going to put on in a cluster of 3, which suits me very well. I usually like to put little clusters of 3 around, and again, one there, a yellowy one which will go there, and a bluey green one which will go in that little gap there. So there's my 3, 3 and 3. And I feel I need something over here. I feel that this is a little bit, doesn't really go with everything else. Let's wiggle that one again. I think that's probably the wrong piece of paper to put there, but I haven't got anything else that I really want to cut up just to put that in there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick another sticker on it. Filled with joy, amazing, beautiful, natural, captured moments. Today is a good day. One fine day. One fine day works because it's got that yellowy green colour to bring in the other ones that are surrounding it. And I'm just going to pop that in that bottom corner. One fine day, and that's it. So that's my completed layout. I'm not sure how long that took, but it's still a quick layout, but that again is because I used the idea from Pinterest, so I didn't have to think too much about it. I've used one whole collection without any odd bits of paper, so I didn't have to worry about that. And that's it. This actually complies with a spoonful of scraps challenge on Facebook, and the idea was to use blues and greens and a picture with a view, and to use an irregular shape. Well, I think you can say that this die cut is an irregular shape, and the top of this tag is an irregular shape as well. I'm not loving the way that this is not really standing out against this background. So I'm going to use a black fine liner. I hope this works. I'm going to use a black fine liner all the way around this tag just to make it stand out a little bit more. I sometimes do that with embellishments because they don't stand out enough. It's not a great pen, this one, but it's a Sharpie that seems to have gone a bit dry. So it's good enough. The Sharpie, I've managed to get it to give a good enough outline, and I think you'll agree that that does now stand out more than it did before. So that's it, I've finished, and that's another summer fiesta on Spoonful of Scraps layout completed. So thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon. And yeah, do subscribe to my channel. I hope to do this more regularly now, and I hope that we will see each other again soon. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye bye.